Hey everybody, Thacia here with Legacy of Light in conjunction with One Love Wellness Center here in Menasha, Wisconsin, coming to you for one of my 365 days from my heart to yours. And right now we're doing If the Buddha Dated, which is a handbook for finding love on a spiritual path. And today we're going to be going through the chapter 8, and it says to be guided by spirit and not ego. There are many dating books with numerous rules about the right thing to do and to say when dating. On the spiritual path, the rules are simple. Simply ask yourself, am I being guided by my spirit or by my rigid ego? Before differentiating between spirit and the rigid ego, I'd like to say a few words about ego. Ego is not an enemy to be broken or demolished, as it's often portrayed in spiritual literature. We don't want to get rid of the ego, we want to soften it, make it more porous and receptive, so information, thoughts, and compassion flow in and out. And I always like to say that we are trying to balance all of this, you know, the heart, the mind, the ego, and as you know, not get rid of it. You're supposed to love it and help it out, and like she said, make it more receptive so that this information, this new information, and you know, as always, make it feel safe, because that is what the issue is that fear is coming in, fear of things happening. So a healthy ego allows us to have the strength of our convictions, yet be open to others. Psychological literature often refers to ego strength, a sureness about ourselves that rests calmly inside, the will to actualize our dreams and to stand fast to our beliefs without worrying about our consequences. By contrast, the rigid or inflated ego is concrete and dualistic, right and wrong, good and bad, friend and foe. It is tethered to the past experience that have become hardwired in the brain, resulting in these rigid beliefs, fear of change, and inability to see the many sides of a situation. It believes the stories we've made up are reality, and it doesn't realize that they're only the cover over our essence. The voice of the rigid ego is intense. It's urgent, it's worried, it's afraid. It says, I've got to have someone. I can't stand being alone. There's something wrong with me for not having a lover. We cling to the first person we meet, afraid there will never be another. Honesty, integrity, and peace of mind give way to grasping, emptiness, and conniving. Our self-worth is outside of us, attached to having a lover when we get in this situation. The rigid ego is fueled by fear of meeting the dreaded false core beliefs. I'm bad, I'm a loser, I'm unlovable, and so on. To deflect this fear, the inflated ego dons a mask and becomes artificial in relationships. If, for example, on the first date, we become attached to being asked out a second time, our ego shifts to control mode. We censor our words, second guess what our date wants to hear, and to try to sell ourselves in some way. This leaves us a stranger to ourselves and the person we are meeting. In fact, there has been no authentic connection. It's only our personas that have met. We are also caught up in our inflated ego when we lose perspective on our immediate situation. We're like the teenager who will die if he or she can't go to a certain rock concert or see a certain friend, because we tell ourselves it's absolutely crucial that we are invited out, have sex, have great sex, receive flowers, or are remembered on our birthday. We create turmoil and anxiety. It's not being turned down or left alone on a Saturday night that causes us pain. It's the meaning that we give to those events and our demand that such a thing must not happen. While we can have preferences, the minute we start insisting that people and situations be different, we create this internal turmoil. anger, hostility, sadness, and so on. It's our attachments that lead us to donning this mask, blaming others, or feeling incomplete. So I was just thinking the other day, a lot of times with self-help, they tell you to, write down what you would like in a mate. And so, I've done that several times over, the past year or so. And a couple weeks ago or last week just realized that, and I can't even remember what I was reading. It was, I think I told my friend today, I've got like 10 books I'm reading. So, but it was saying that doing that in some way is still placing expectations on this person. And maybe we need to broaden it to, instead of all of these expectations, I would like a happy, healthy, loving relationship. To where I'm not putting expectations on this person. I'm not putting expectations on myself to get these things or it's not gonna work. Because our relationships are meant to build us. And when we look at the broader spectrum sometimes, those other things that we desire, they come with it. And when we allow it just to flow in each moment, because a lot of us, in the ages, maybe 25 or older, have been through a relationship or two that hasn't worked. And sometimes we forget how to start over at the beginning of a relationship, a new relationship. And just allow it to unfold as it does, and to not place all of these expectations upon that relationship. Instead, ask for the relationship to be happy, healthy, and loving. Because then all those things can come to you, because you're not focused on this one area. Well, they have to do this. Well, they have to do that. They have to do this. They have to do that. Well, that's the other part of it, that while we are dating, is to figure out if that person is going to be a match, and to allow them to make the decision if we are. And if not, like I said, I think a couple videos ago, it doesn't have to be this huge turmoil, this huge all this bad shit has to happen or we have to stay together kind of thing. You can kind of let that go. And when you're just looking for that happy, healthy relationship, I believe, and I'm seeing through some of mine, that is allowing them to become those things that my heart desires. Because our hearts know, and our team and the universe knows. So sometimes we just have to allow it, like I said, to become. And let go of those expectations. So it says, there's some ways to distinguish between spirit and ego. The following are examples of getting caught up in the ego. Boasting of our accomplishments to impress someone. Defending and criticizing ourselves and others. Hiding our accomplishments and intelligence to protect another's ego. Hiding our vulnerability, our fears, our discomfort, questions, care, tenderness. Lying, being deceitful, seductive, or manipulative, whether overtly, covertly, or by omission. Talking on and about ourselves or others. So it means like talking on and going on and on and on. Putting on a fake exterior, cheery, cool, tough, charming, whatever it is. Looking to someone as the perfect person, the savior. This person is going to be it, the one. Being a chameleon by reading people, then telling them that they want it, what they want to hear. Pressuring someone to be sexual, using sex to keep the relationship. Giving frequent, unsolicited advice. Plotting to change the other person. And, you know, that's a huge thing in a relationship, is that, like, when we go into one and, you know, we're going along and then we're like basically thinking that we can change the other person, or they should change because, you know, whatever reason. Like, I think that is a huge one that, you know, we all have to occasionally look at and realize that that is not our job. And the things that we want to change in them are just pointing out, showing, you know, this reflection back to us. So, and retaliating when we're mad, or harming ourselves when we feel hurt with food, drugs, sex, self-abuse, and much more. Underlying all these behaviors is fear. Fear of being spontaneous and natural and trusting your instincts. Fear of simply sitting with your internal discomfort, anxiety, shame, or emptiness. Fear of not knowing what to do. We feel all these fears at times, and maybe even quite often. Tuning into our ego-driven behavior requires that we become the clear-seeing witness of our motivations. We become that observer. We go beneath our stories and knee-jerk reactions and ask, what's really going on with me? Often we're angry and don't want to admit it, or we're afraid of losing someone and don't want to feel sad. The key is self-observation and acceptance. I'm really doing a sales pitch on this guy. What am I afraid of? Or, I'm really worried about saying the right thing. What's that about? Or I suddenly have the urge to seduce his best friend. Where's that coming from? Only by slowing down and reflecting on our own processes and motives can we soften our ego. Zen talks about becoming the sovereign of our bodies and minds, and about looking through our ego stories and associated fears so we see ourselves, other people, and situations as they are, undistorted. Coming at the situation from a different angle, we can ask ourselves, if I didn't give this advice, if I didn't boast about my accomplishments, if I didn't seduce his best friends, what would I feel? Lonely, stupid, sad, invisible, unlovable, maybe defective. We need to tell ourselves we can handle these feelings. It's better to meet them than to lose our path. We are wise to resist the powerful temptation to act out of our inflated ego and instead ask ourselves, how can I stay centered in my spirit? How can I do no harm to myself or another person? These are essentially the two aims of the Buddhist practice: experiencing the clear mind that sees things as they are, and the compassionate heart that embraces all people. Sometimes when we feel hurt, it can help to remind ourselves of a basic truth. Some people will like us and some people won't. Everyone is seeing each other through the stories that they create. You, me, everyone. No matter how hard we try, we will fit with some people and not with others. So you might as well give up dancing in someone else's shoes and just be yourself. That way, you'll be less lonely and you'll become a good friend to yourself, and your feet won't hurt. When we operate from spirit, we move from in the direction of the following. We see ourselves, situations, and other people clearly. We listen intently, becoming attuned to the other's experience and not pasting them onto our storylines. We reveal ourselves in the interest of making an authentic connection, not impressing or placating someone. We present ourselves as we are without enhancing or diminishing ourselves. We ask for what we want without demanding it or being upset if we don't get it. We stay in touch with our inner experience and reactions. We are guided by our internal cues and experiences. We speak the truth as best we can, kindly and with compassion, not to change someone, because the truth is our path and is the only foundation for loving relationships. And I would like to add, from Don Miguel Ruiz, he talks about, the truth and the lies. Like, the truth doesn't need you to believe it, because it is the truth. Lies need you to believe it to keep them going. And if you don't believe them, then they dissipate, they disappear, because there's nothing fueling them. So we bring a broad perspective to all the events, and remember that everything is an experiment in being ever more aware, present, and loving. We are on safe ground when we blend our desire for a partner with our desire to know ourselves and be fully awake. Ego says, I want someone to fill me up. And spirit says, I'll have someone to help wake me up, to challenge my blind spots, and to be a companion and playmate on the journey. So, love relationships, intimate relationships, all of our relationships have friction. And without that friction, it doesn't start the fire, and it doesn't help us or challenge us to find those blind spots in us. And remember that we are to have fun. This is a playmate on your journey, someone that enjoys doing the things that you do. And then you can have things that you enjoy doing by yourself as well, because in it all, everything that we desire in someone else is already within us. And when we come to that realization and that truth is when these other relationships will kind of unfold. Because we will know that all of this is within us. And these mates, these lovers, are just a reflection of ourselves. And when we accept ourselves and we accept our friends, our families, our lovers, we are accepting everything within the universe and allowing it to just be, and being part of this experience, this creation that we came here to be, that we came here to experience. And find joy. And always, a message from my team is to laugh. Like, laugh at it all. Don't take it so seriously. Have some fun. Enjoy yourself. And love it all. Love it all, because the entire universe, the cosmos, the everything loves all of you and adores all of you for just being you. All right, thanks.